Recovery means to me is freedom and peace.
There is hope.
Recovery is awesome.
Recovery works.
Recovery is possible. There is hope.
Recovery is possible. There is hope.
Recovery to me means freedom. Recovery is possible.
Recovery works. Recovery is always possible. It's fantastic.
Progress, not perfection.
Recovery is possible.
Recovery works.
Recovery is a journey, not a destination.
Hello and welcome to Montana's Peer Network Recovery Talks podcast. I'm Jim Hajny, Executive Director for Montana's Peer Network, and today I am talking with a friend of mine, Lawrence Rhone, and there's so much I want to say in the introduction about you, but most importantly, I consider you a good friend, and Lawrence is one of the, he is a leader in our state of Montana, and we're going to talk about all the kind of stuff. I'm sure it's all going to come out, the different projects. I definitely would like to touch on some of that, but today we thought we would talk about leadership, because every time Lawrence and I have a personal conversation, we end up talking about leadership and the qualities, and it's like this connection that you and I have had, I think from the beginning when we first met with the box. So Lawrence, welcome, and thanks for coming on Recovery Talks podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
So if I remember right, we both turned up as guests at the Bach Behavioral Health Advisory Council meeting in Helena. We weren't on the council, but we both kind of showed up at the same time, right? Isn't that where we first met many years ago? Absolutely.
I think the year was 2018 or somewhere in that realm. And it was an in-person opportunity. We knew that there was going to be an audit of types by SAMHSA of the process. Yes. And we had an opportunity to give our input. I was attending as an advocate. And in order to do that, I had to be, put boots on the ground. So
And that's where it started. And then eventually we got on the council, and then eventually we became the chair, co-chair, and then you took over as the chair, and the rest is history. But every time we have personal conversations, like I said, we always end up talking about leadership.
Yes.
And I'm amazed all the things that you have accomplished, the things you've built, and we have many similar approaches to leadership, which is amazing. Even just in the warm-up here before we started, as we're kind of talking, it's like, oh yeah, and very easily we could have just kept talking, and because I think we're both very passionate about leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that is an excellent point to have there, and we'll see later how that's built into, attributes of leadership. But passion is, if you're not passionate about what you want to engage in, why would someone engage in it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Were you always like that when you were growing up? Were you always like a passionate type person? Were you really committed into things? And
not the way I am today, but I think that my roots. I grew up in a pretty tough setting. Grew up in the projects of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Lived in a couple of different projects, but I think my patriarchal and matriarchal leadership in those settings helped me realize, number one, I'm the eldest of four, that my siblings and myself, our ability to survive or thrive in that setting meant I had to be very assertive and strong about whatever it is I did, because as I did, so was it for my siblings as well. So I think looking at it now and understanding the different attributes that my father, my grandfather, my mother, my grandmothers, placed upon me and put in front of me as examples and direction, I think that's where it was all put together in now, with schooling and all that and understanding human development, how important all of that was.
Yeah, yeah. And then your military background. So that's the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, oh wow. I went in service at 17 years old. So I left the projects at 14. My father was afforded an opportunity to that just catapulted us out of the project setting to buy in our first home, and him just setting an example of that. But I only had 3 years outside of the project setting before I went to service. So I needed, and this is another important part of our recipe here we're going to talk about, is I had mentors right from the beginning in service. Yeah. Those Vietnam veterans, Vietnam soldiers that I went in June the 24th, 1980. They were instrumental, and I still use techniques I learned then as a young private at 17 years old that still impact me today at 63 years old. So,
yeah. Mentors are and always have been a big part of my life. Also, even as a teenager, when I didn't recognize it, I didn't recognize what those people were in my life. There were just these people outside my family structure that came along and played these roles and gave me guidance and support and knowledge. And I can remember thinking in my teens and even into my early 20s, I didn't really know how to categorize them, because they just meant good mentors, I think, just come in at the right time, do what they're meant to do, and then they just sort of fade out, and I think for a lot of years I was like, what is that? Because I would gain so much from it. I could recognize that part, but I didn't know, right? They weren't part of my family structure. So, yeah, I think mentorship is a huge part in the development of leadership skills.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't remember most of those things if, one of my other favorite things is reading quotes and holding on to those quotes that apply. But so you won't always, and this is Maya Angelou, people don't always remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. And that would apply in mentorship, right? My mentors all, number one, communicated to me a sense of care and accountability, right? And care and accountability, I mean, you just, I would say care plus accountability inspires and motivates competence, right?
Yeah.
Because there, it does. So those 3 C's really are big in that process.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the care part is it lets people know you're safe. You're a safe person, you know, right? Because when you're around somebody who you don't feel safe with, for whatever that reason is, they're too aggressive or you don't feel supported or whatever, it's like it allows people to really grow and blossom, right? And that's part of the quality of being a leader. You have to be able to facilitate that environment to even allow that to even happen, right? Yeah. Much like growing things. You and I've had that conversation.
Yeah.
And right? And some of your work with the Farmer Veterans Coalition and Hive, I mean, how you've incorporated these things, but it's that environment of care. You have to show people you have love and compassion. I say that in every single peer support class I teach. I've been doing that for 10 years, and I tell them in every class, you have to have love and compassion for the people who you're going to support. That's the most important part, because if they don't have an environment, I don't think they can really grow and blossom if you don't create that sort of environment.
Yes, I agree. That in compassion, so in compassion for me is love, and that love, there's tough love is love too, right? And
absolutely.
Hence the accountability part of
that's it.
Right.
That's it. You can't just do whatever. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Life ain't about always being petunias and roses.
Right.
Grab that rose. I think one of my mentors in service, outside of service, but he was a veteran. When I left service, my first job, I was the director of operations for a security company, and my mentor was also my sensei in my fighting style. And his projection to me was always, in life, you want to be perceived as a cherry and not a nut, right? And I thought, what is he talking about, right? And he said, and I looked at him, and a question mark on my forehead, and he's like, yes, because the nut is hard on the outside, soft on the inside.
Yeah.
But that cherry,
right,
is beautiful, luscious, and you want to bite it.
Yeah.
Don't bite, right? And that's, and if you navigate life with that, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of, I mean, there's a consequence to biting, right?
Yeah.
So that's not what you want to do.
Right.
And then so it's okay to be accommodating and meek.
Right.
My brother's quote, and my brother passed in 2015 because he didn't navigate his recovery well. And his thing was always meek but not weak, right? And so I embraced that as well, you know, as a tribute. He's 12 years younger than I am, didn't quite understand the assignment, you know, so he passed early in 2015. But he also is a part of what fuels my engine of engagement as well.
Well, that idea of the engine, I look at for myself, the passion that I have. I've always been a passionate person. Even when I was young, I was the same way. When I got into something, I was totally into it, right? Okay. And this passion. And if I'm not into it, no passion for it, you know, like it was like it really intense. And it took me getting into recovery in my 20s to kind of develop that and harness it and understand it and listen to mentors and to really get what that was. And I look at it as the fuel or the engine that drives all the things that I do in building NPN and peer support and certification and all of it. But it's that passion, and people will come to me and say, I want to start my own recovery program or my own company, and the first thing that I always ask them is, what are you passionate about? Is that what you're really passionate about? Tell me about it. And when someone's really passionate, you can tell it pours out of them.
Yep.
It just pours out. They start smiling. They start, just to get excited. They're like, yeah. And it's like, okay. But, a lot of times when I ask people that, they don't know.
I can tell you that I had a recent conversation. This chapter of my life is amazing because I'm just learning so much. But I had the opportunity to sit down with a gentleman who has been very impactful in my life of recent, and he is of immense means, right? Financial means. Mm-hmm. And the one thing he said to me, he said, you know what, Lawrence, I don't invest in companies. So he's a philanthropist, right? Mm-hmm. He said, I don't invest in companies, but I invest in people with passion.
Right.
Right? I invest in people.
Yes.
And I invest in those people and it's based on their passion for what it is. Because if they're passionate about it, they're not going to let that fail. They're just going to keep going at it until they figure it out. Right? Yeah, sure. I want them to have a plan, but someone can come to me with a plan, but if there's no passion, I'm not buying that. Right? So, exactly. Yes. So passion is absolutely key in the recipe. Without that passion, where's the fuel?
Right.
To fuel that engine.
Right.
So passion, I think, is huge. And then just having a plan or a structure or framework. Because once you say, I'm passionate about this, okay, what's your plan?
That's the next part. Yes, that's the next
What's your
stage,
plan?
Right?
What's your plan?
Yes.
But I have to say that, and this is what sparked our whole thing. And so my father passed away on December the 30th. And at his funeral, I spoke a tribute to him. But the one thing that I said, if I had to think about my father's contribution as a patriarch to me and who I am, I think about what was the one single message that he pushed at me most throughout my life. And that was take initiative. Take initiative.
Yes.
If you know better, you got to do better. That came from his mother. Yeah. But he said, you know what needs to be done, or you have an idea of what needs to be done. Don't wait to be told to do it. Do it. If you know it needs to be done, do it. So I think that's where the foundation of my action is in what I do. The more I know, the more I need to act. And I'm passionate about those things. And so I'm going to act on them. I'm going to take initiative to figure it out and get those things in place.
Yes.
And then I have a plan, right? There is nothing that I approach that I don't have a framework to fall back on that I could do in my sleep or wake up after being knocked out by the process and engage in. So I think that's key. Passion.
Yeah. I think about it as mission and vision. The vision is where you begin to conceptualize what it is. How are you going to achieve this mission? Your mission is to start a company to do X, Y, Z, whatever. So what's the vision now, right? Like that's the process I begin walking people through. And then they often get stopped at that point. And then I say, okay, go take some time and write that out. actually write it out, type it out, send it to me, and we'll have another conversation, and we'll begin. That's where I think, for me, that's where I begin conceptualizing. I need to sit and sort of ruminate on it for a little bit, and it begins to take shape, right? My subconscious, because I'm passionate, that doesn't turn on and off. It's on. Even when I'm not sitting there thinking about it, it's still churning in my mind, and I find I get these great ideas. Then I put it all down and begin to put structure to it. So how am I actually going to do that, right? Yeah. And I know you're very analytical about it in this piece. Yeah. Yeah.
Although I'm not an analytical thinker, I am a global thinker. So I think in life there are global and analytical thinkers. But in my mentorship, my mentors have always encouraged me to work on my weaknesses, right? And my weakness was, growing up in the projects, was structure in processes, right? And in the military, I was able to take that on. And what resonated with me was acronyms, right? And there's an acronym for everything. Right. And going in at 17, I went to my first leadership school when I was a young corporal, which is there's 9 ranks in the enlisted ranks, and the corporal is at level 4, if you will, for a civilian listening to this, which was an E4 with hard stripes. Hard stripes mean that you are charged with a leadership or a command role of other soldiers. So in order to do that, they had to send me to what they call PLDC, which is Primary Leadership Development Course. So I go there at the right young age of 19, and I learn about leadership. And there's so many pieces of structure that were provided for me, and which would eventually help me in the raising of my son, help me navigate life and its challenges. And as I continue to go on, I pick up these acronyms or go back to my service and use those acronyms to help me approach. My first one that I would relate to is how I take information in and how I communicate. And it's a very simple acronym of FEBA, FEBA. In the Army, the phonetic alphabet, Foxtrot, Echo, Bravo, Alpha. But each one of those words in service meant something totally different than for what I use it now. In service, it was the forward edge of the battle area. I was in combat arms, so you always have to know where the FEBA was. If you get too close to it, you could get unlived by either side if you didn't know passwords. And, there's so much that goes with that. But for me, the importance that has been assigned to me in my thought process is if I'm engaging in a topic, what are the facts, which would be F, and if it's stated or presented as a fact, what's the evidence of it being so? So there needs to be empirical evidence of it, to substantiate that it's a fact. What are the benefits of me engaging in this thought process or activity? And do I agree that it's a direction I want to move in? Or if I'm communicating to someone, can I get them to agree with me collectively that this is a rope we want to pull on in the same direction?
Okay. It's interesting. You were really young, and you were getting an education in leadership.
Yes.
At a very young age. Yeah.
Very young age. Yep.
Yeah.
And I had 13 men I was responsible for. Think about that. And one was he was a school teacher, 32-year-old school teacher, music teacher that had, kids were challenging. He's like, I'm just going to go in the Army. And here he is standing there, and he's got this young 19-year-old that is his, you know, I mean, he's like, man, isn't this something, you know? But I learned so much from him, right? Because, you know, the way the roles were reversed, it was just, I can't, Belks was his name. See, I can still remember his name. And I got out, I mean, that was in 1981, 82, right? 81. Wow. Yeah. So, yeah. And I don't know where he is now, but, those were monumental moments.
See, those are the things that I think about, Lawrence, when we talk about leadership. And you were a leader back then at a young age, even though you had challenges and you know, right? Like it wasn't the best environment, but like there was something in you. And when I reflect on my own life, I think about the same thing. Like I never recognized in myself my leadership qualities till I built MPN and we started achieving things. And then when I began to reflect, like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could create a profession, right? Get certification for peer supporters and create the profession and the bill and all that stuff. It was like once that was accomplished, it made me reflect backwards on my life and say, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But I could pick out moments throughout my life in these leadership roles, although I wouldn't have called it leadership back then, you know, but there were these moments and there were these people and that came along and played such a role in my development outside my family structure. They were always outside my family structure. And I didn't go into the military. I was very sick in my early 20s. My mental health was not good. I tried going to college. I couldn't tolerate that at the time. And so, you know, it was like I was asking myself, like, where did that come from? Like, I just spent 7 years leading people on this mission to get certification for peer support specialists and all that. And it was like, wow, there's something that's been there the whole time, but it never had a chance to fully, and here it was. It finally, and ever since then, and that's been, you know, that was 2017. And so ever since then, now I've really been meeting you and reading books and beginning to really educate myself on this leadership and what is it. And that's what's so fascinating in this. I love how you call it the recipe.
Yeah, it is, right.
Because that's what it is. It is. There's parts kind of from wherever you get it. You went to the military. Yeah. I got it from other mentors who came along. But they're not dissimilar.
No.
Because the structure you're talking about that you got from the military, because that's all about structure, right? I got from my recovery journey, which started in my early 20s. Right? So now life is not just chaos.
Right.
It begins to have structure, right? And it's just so fascinating to me.
Well, it's the marination process of this recipe, right?
Yes. Yes.
If you want to have a good meat, it needs to marinate, and it has its ingredients. The other piece that I would assert is that it is that you have to have so I look at steel because I've learned blacksmithing here at an advanced age. And it's all about how the steel is forged as to how the strength of it, right?
Okay. Yep.
And as a leader, your journey, you're forged in that journey. And so that process is there. But there isn't any one path. But the one thing that I would say is that what you believe in or not is absolutely key in your ability to withstand the temperatures of the process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because
right?
there are challenges you will face as a leader.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
yes.
you'll
yes.
hear in the Marine Corps, they say they're forged in the crucible into being what they are. We didn't have that saying in the Army, but I like the concept of that thought is, what kind of temperatures can you stand?
Yeah.
Well, as a leader, you need to be able to withstand heat, because heat comes.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't have foundation, if you don't have some type of faith, right?
Yes.
You got to believe in something.
Yes.
And whatever you believe in, it can't be something that can be taken from you.
Yes. Yes.
Because if it's that simple, all I got to do is take it from you.
Right. There's too many challenges.
So, and my mentors early taught me that. My first mentor in the Army was a tunnel rat in Vietnam. Right? And anyone can look up what tunnel rats did and all of that. But I needed him at that young age because I was a little bit spicy. And he helped me understand that spice has its place. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that was key.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to stop right there. And this is going to be a two-parter for this podcast. This has been great conversation so far, Lawrence. Thank you so much. And
thank you. Yeah.
We're going to pick this up and continue this conversation because there's so much here. I mean, I got a lot more stuff written down on my notes. I'm sure you do too.
I do,
So we can continue to get into it, this discussion about leadership and our experiences, and because this stuff is so important, right? This is just important in the work we do and what we're trying to achieve. So, Lawrence, thank you so much.
Thank you. I didn't mention earlier, but you have been my mentor after I met you after the age of 50. And that's when I stepped into this chapter of my life of understanding that it's important. You should not take with you what you've learned and acquired, and you share. I wouldn't be engaged in a lot of the things we're going to talk about as well without your mentorship in this process. So I am.
Well, that's a whole other part of leadership. We're going to talk about that. That's a whole other part. You got to give it away. You got to give it away to people. You got to give it away. You got to bring people with you. And so let's get into that in part 2.
All right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Lawrence. And thank you, dear listeners. For tuning in. And check out part 2 with Lawrence. We're talking about leadership. And thanks for tuning in to Recovery Talks podcast.
There's always hope. Recovery is possible. Recovery works.
There is hope in recovery. Healing takes time.
Recovery means resilience.
You can get through anything. Recovery works.
Recovery.